Greetings. We're still here. I had a spectacular view this morning from the road in front of the house of the plumes coming up out of Leilani. I had about a half a dozen gray plumes. They almost look like little bitty tornadoes or something rising off the fissures, but unfortunately, by the time I got into the house, got the camera, went back out and walked down to get a perfect window on it, the rain had moved in down in Lower Puna and view was gone. So I'm going to try to catch that one for y'all. We'll see. And that's about as close as I'm going to be getting to those flows. They don't want anybody down there anyway because it's a panic, it's pandemonium, and there's people suffering. And so us looky-loos, like, you know, guys like me with a camera, we don't belong there. Not really. Not unless I belong to a news station or something like that. And so they don't want me around. And I'm going to keep it that way. But yeah, we did have a nice view of it this morning. The activity is continuing. The northeast prevailing trade wind flow in this area of the world has been keeping our air perfectly clean. I did check into owning sulfur dioxide meters. I see the National Guard's running around with them down there, handheld units. But yeah, the cheapest ones I could run across were about $350. From there up to $3,000, and well, we'll see. If this gets to be a major issue, I may invest in one, but for now, usually I can tell what's going on either by my nose or by my tongue. I can ordinarily taste the sulfur in the air. The sulfur dioxide is tasteless, but when it mixes with water in the air, it becomes sulfuric acid. And I taste it pretty good. I'm good at that. And so I know whether it's here or not. It's not. We've been measuring the rainwater by pH, putting litmus in our rainwater, just to be sure we aren't getting acid rain in this area, and it has not happened. Tests have come up right around 7, which is neutral. So no sulfur here, just a view once in a while. We can see down there. But in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the cultural significance of all of this here in Hawaii. As I've stated before, this is really a different place if you're used to living in the mainland. So a lot of stuff over here is really pretty different. And when it comes to attitudes towards the volcanoes and the lava here, the traditional feeling is that the lava and the eruptions and all of this is all a goddess, Pele. And Pele is more than just a volcano goddess. She handles a numerous different things here. From my point of view, at least, she is very much the microcosm of the entire universe and the way it functions, because everything here around us operates by destruction, which makes creation, which makes destruction, which makes creation. You know, stars go supernova to create higher elements and so on, dust that coalesces to become planet Earth and blah blah. You just can't have paradise without volcanoes. All the island chains here are all built from lava and so on. So as Pele moves around and pops up here and pops up there, you know, it tends to be referred to as the Dance of Pele. She dances around, and humans, when they live with Pele, have to dance too. I mean, you don't have to, but I suggest it's a real good idea. In other words, time to scramble out of town when stuff starts to happen like that. But it's amazing because there's a lot of sadness. You know, people have lost homes. There have been, I think it's 26 or 27 houses now, maybe around 35 or so structures. I mean, they say structures. I mean, one of them was probably a dog house, some are garden sheds, who knows. But we're right around 26 homes that have been lost. Last count this morning, I think the news said it was 104 acres that's been covered with lava. And so now in the media, this is a huge thing. It's huge, you know. I mean, it's so visual and graphic, but this is a 400,000 square mile island, and so 104 acres of lava. Okay, it's a very tiny thing actually, It just happened, though, that it came up in the middle of a subdivision that was fairly populated. And so that causes a real problem. 104 acres anywhere else in this island, you know, it wouldn't have mattered. Nobody would have cared. You know, it's just another fire in the woods. So what? It happens all the time here. But, you know, in this case, it's in a spot where there were just a little bit too many people living. But they were living right on top the Kilauea's southeast ridge, rift, it's called, and a well-known zone with multiple eruptions over and over and over and over again. The geothermal plant is down there because the magma is right close to the surface. They're very flat to the sea level right along there, and the lava is literally right underneath them. Just offshore is the new island coming up, Loihi. So that area of the state, the southeastern corner, there's tremendous volcanic activity going on there day after day. And if you live in that region, essentially, you must dance with Pele, because if you don't, you know, you're just going to suffer. I'm sure there were people caught off guard who hadn't, you know, known the tradition of the area, maybe hadn't done the research. Well, and no matter what happens, if your house burns up in a wall of lava, that's really pretty sad. But the other thing about it is that despite the sadness, for the most part, there's stress, but there's no anger. People are not mad at this. In fact, I saw images this morning of people who were actually laying out offerings to Pele in their house and in their yard as they flee. So a lot of stories around here about folks who have done what it takes to appease Pele, and they become local legends. Uncle Robert down in Kalapana, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have been told that as the flow came into Kalapana years back, Robert went out and he sang to the edge of the flow, and the flow stopped, leaving Robert's property intact. Of course, this made him a local legend, and there is still a music festival, all night farmers market, and things that go on down there. There's a big luau every Wednesday night celebrating what happened in Kalapana with Uncle Robert. These kinds of stories are fairly common here, and then the stories about meeting Pele as a woman walking down the side of the road, maybe with a white dog, you know. In a way, they remind me of the urban legends in the mainland about the white lady. You know, it's this hitchhiker woman who you pick her up and then she disappears out of your car and she wasn't really there, you know. Well, it's a little bit like the Pele legend, although it's a lot bigger because Pele runs the volcano plumbing here too. But yeah, she's been known to come and ask for help, want a drink of water, whatever, you know, it is. You give Pele what she wants. It's an attitude I've never seen. You'll never see anybody in California, you know, laying a box of donuts in the front yard to appease an earthquake. All right, well, here, despite the fact that property can be destroyed by the volcanoes, there's a tremendous respect for them, a love and a belief of their supernatural nature. And, you know, it doesn't really matter whether your heritage and traditions agree with this idea or not. You best not tromp on it. It's best not to degrade it, diss it, you know. You want to respect it. You want to respect it. I was aware of some of the legends of Pele before I ever decided to even move here, but of course, after living here for a while, you got in such contact with it intimately that I myself begin to refer to the volcanoes as Pele. They have a personality. They have a personality, and you know, maybe I read all this into it, but they also appear to be rather feminine. Can't avoid it. There are some very peculiar things that occur over here. For instance, on the 100th anniversary of the national park on the island here, a helicopter flying over Pu'u'o'o, over the lava lake in the top of the crater, there was a smiley face. And you can Google this too. Google smiley face volcano, and the picture will come up. It is incredible, and it was on the birthday of the park. The flow that was going into Pahoa several years back, and people were terrified. We're going to lose the town. They moved everything out of the transfer station because it was brand new. Millions of dollars worth of gear. Picked it all up, got it out of there so the lava wouldn't take it. The lava came to the edge of that transfer station, burned off a little of the bottom of the chain link fence, dripped in the parking lot a bit like melted candle wax, and stopped. The flow had come all the way from the top of the mountain up at Pu'u'o, come right down to that edge of that transfer station and just stop. Same flow also took out the Buddhist cemetery on Halloween, halfway up the tombstones. I mean, it's a little strange. It really is. The best part of all that was that KFC had just opened a brand new store over here in the shopping center at Pahoa, and when the lava flow came towards them, they pulled up stakes, chickened out, and left town, never came back again. I didn't like KFC. It was very funny. Well, for instance, when all this started here in Leilani Estates, Pu'u'o, which had had a big lava lake up in the caldera, all of a sudden that flushed like somebody pulled the handle on a toilet, fell 256 feet down the pipe, and then it was simultaneously ejected a plume of dust and gas. The geologists referred to the plume as being a red plume. I looked at it, I said, man, that's pink. And also, if you go and look at some of the pictures, Google the Pu'u'o plume from this date here, you'll see that the plume coming up, to me, I mean, you can read clouds, right? You see Mickey Mouse in the sky all the time, but it looks like a woman laying on her back, coming up out of the top of the volcano, headdress and the whole 9 yards. I mean, it looks like a woman, and the plume is pink. How often do you see a pink volcano eruption? Not too often. So, I begin to connect with the local beliefs around here too. I'm certainly not going to make fun of them, I'll tell you that. The way the volcano acts sometimes, it's inscrutable, and it reminds me of the numerous of my partners throughout life who were all women. There's a similarity there. Anyway, so it's about dancing with Pele. If you come from the mainland and you look over here and you see this, again, I say it's 104 acres of lava is all it is. So it's not as big as it looks in the media. I got a phone call at 4 a.m. this morning from Tehran in Iran, a friend of mine calling me up, oh, Bill, I just saw that there's a volcano. Are you okay? I'm there. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Call me later. People are worried everywhere. They're worried all over the planet because the images, they're dramatic. I mean, Hawaii is a dramatic piece of scenery anyway. When the volcanoes go up, it's even more dramatic. And so it's a big news thing. The news loves it. And people who are suffering right now are truly suffering. So I'm not belittling any of this. All I'm saying, it ain't as big as it looks. And for the most part, it's not as dangerous as it looks either. You don't want to go walking on the hot lava. And you want to get out of town when it starts to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to stop. Chances are there's going to be a whole lot of people that move back in there like their lives really never changed. 26 people will have lost their houses and probably not be able to rebuild them there. And I'll tell you what, one of them is my friend Jim. Jim's house is... And it's okay for me to laugh because it's my friend Jim, okay? Jim was warned. I told him, man, don't build in Lava Zone 1. No, price good, yeah, blah, 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 But they figure he's probably got about 8 to 10 foot of lava over the top of the house. The car's still in the garage. The eggs are still in the refrigerator. His collection of Grateful Dead music is still on the shelf. So, I mean, I think it's funny. he knew damn full well. So the same guy that built next to Mount St. Helens, beautiful custom log home, and had the darn thing blow up weeks after he built the house. This is Mr. Volcano. There are very few people you meet, although there are a few around here. There's a gentleman in the news who had moved to Leilani Estates after his house in Kalapana was overrun by lava flows. And when he moved to Leilani, he decided he was going to try to find a place on a rise so that lava would go around him. Well, sure enough, he was in there the other day on the news. His house was okay. His fruit trees were even okay for now. Okay, for now. Although it's sadness because he can't go in there because of the air. Eventually, he probably will. But here's a guy that's been dancing with Pele most of his life. That's the second time he got burned out, you know, or at least got pushed out by the lava. It's a fact of life here. Like I say, it looks far more dramatic, especially if you live in the mainland and you're not used to having volcanoes blow up like this. You know, I won't go into the geology of it, but all you geologists out there know this is a, you know, this is a hotspot volcano, and it is not overly dangerous to human life. And so we're not really in peril, not so much. Property loss, yeah. If your dog's slow, maybe, you know. I guess they got something like 6 horses and 35 cows. I don't know where the cows were in a subdivision, but somebody had cows. There were 35 cows that they rounded up this morning. County's taking charge of all this, putting it in animal shelters for people, trying to round up all the pets that were left behind because people really split out of town. We couldn't find the dog, couldn't find the cat. That's it, you know. They go back and they look for him. In some cases, they find him. But the cows were a shock to me. We got plenty of cows in this island, but I've spent enough time in that subdivision. I'm trying to figure out where those cows were. Oh, man. Yeah, so the rain broke out. Like I said, I was going to give you a good picture of those plumes, but this storm's been moving in from the southeast corner now for a while. You can hear it falling. Yeah, for the most part, this is just fact of life. Here it is. You can't live on a volcanic island with a volcano goddess hanging around without dancing with Pele. So, give your care and your prayers to the people who live way down there in Lava Zone 1. But as for the rest of us, we can barely tell anything's happening here. The earthquake, which I reported on, the 6.9, it's about the only really good sign here at Bill's house that there's something been going on down there. That was a kicker, and for me it was spectacular. But, you know, I was born in the American Midwest, and of course we had tornadoes, we had downburst line winds, we had floods, you know, we had incredible blizzards and hailstorms. I've seen a friend of mine spin his car out on the highway in Wisconsin on the 4th of July, coming home from a party at my house because the hail fell down on the road at 100 degrees so hard that it melted, refroze into black ice, and when he was leaving my party, he went donuts and out into the rhubarb in the middle of July on glare ice. I mean, that's weird. You know, it's not exactly a volcano, but it's strange stuff. In the late 1960s, I was actually picked up like Pecos Bill and rode a tornado, except I wasn't on my horse like the famous cowboy. I was in an old VW Beetle, and it was night, and I couldn't tell what was going on. All I knew is that the road signs were shaking, my car was shaking. At first I thought I had a flat tire, so I started to pull over the shoulder. I was going to check the tire, and then all of a sudden I see the sign on the side of the road going like this and then snap off at the post and go flying away. I looked up, there's a stoplight, one of the old ones on the cables, you know, dancing like this, and I went, oh my God, something's up. Before I had a chance to do or say anything more, the tornado hit me, picked me and my Volkswagen up. We got carried out into the middle of a cornfield and dropped back down in the mud. Luckily, VWs have fairly good traction and they like to land on their feet. And so I actually drove back out of the cornfield, survived it with no serious damage other than some scratches and stuff on my car. You know, I rode a tornado once. You know, I survived a downburst line wind that was so heavy that the wind gauges in Rainwater, Wisconsin snapped at 180 miles an hour. They have no idea how fast it was going. Most likely it was over 200 miles an hour. It was worse than the hurricane I got caught in Florida, except the sea didn't come inland. But the winds were worse. It was vicious, man. It just blew down virgin timber that had been there for 500 years, snapped it right off like sticks. I mean, what a mess. It was huge. So, you know, we got trouble everywhere. Trade a tornado for a volcano, I don't know, you know, whatever. You put up with whatever you put up with where you live. But again, looking back on all that, anything you can survive, man, is a great story. Grandchildren will never believe that Pecos Billy the Green Gardener rode in a tornado. They'll never believe a word of it, and you don't have to either. Aloha. Have a wonderful day, and we're doing fine here.